I was one of those few people who was hyped for the Wii U. The biggest draw of the system for me was the innovative Gamepad, which features a tablet within the controller. As a big fan of the DS and the 3DS, I was already into the idea of dual screen play, and adapting this into the home console market was a huge thumbs up for me. While the Wii U's launch title lineup wasn't anything mind-blowing, there was one game that really caught my eye. And when I first saw the trailer for ZombiU, I will admit it was a huge draw to the system for me because of its huge emphasis on the functionality of the Wii U Gamepad. And I had kind of started dipping my toes into survival horror like a few years prior to this, and I'd never experienced a game with permadeath elements before, so the addition of this in ZombiU was intriguing to say the least. It was Nintendo who approached Ubisoft Montpellier to create a mature game to stand in its launch title lineup for the Wii U. But ZombiU wasn't always a zombie survival horror game. Weirdly, it was initially going to be a tie-in with the Raven Rabbids series, the thought being that people could just bash their heads in because they're dead annoying or something. But this didn't fit the Rabbids vibe, so it was changed to just alien kind of monsters and named Killer Freaks from Outer Space, a game more recognisable to the final product but yet still a bit out there. Initially this concept was received well, but Ubisoft soon realised that the extensive use of the Wii U Gamepad meant that one screen would be ignored while concentrating on another. Coupled with unsatisfying combat and fast enemies, the studio decided to slow the pace of the game considerably and change the enemies to one more recognisable as monsters, and that's how we got ZombiU. But this wasn't Ubisoft's first venture into zombie games. That was back in 1986 with Zombie. It was quite a different experience, with 4 protagonists hiding out in a shopping mall in homage to George A. Romero's brilliant Dawn of the Dead. But if one of your characters died, they would stay in the room they died in, roaming it as a zombie. These elements eventually carrying over to ZombiU, so you could kinda see this as a reboot of the series. Oh man, I love this opening so much. No real backstory to the zombie apocalypse, you're just put in the shoes of a survivor in the middle of merry old London, scavenging to survive when a horde of zombies appear. A voice echoes through the tannoy system in the nearby Shamwell station, beckoning you into safety, and BAM! You're in control, immediately running for your life, and just when you think it's safe... Holy and completely panic-inducing. Utter perfection. A small wander further and we access the safe house. The same disembodied voice from outside introduces himself as the prepper, as he's always prepared. When I hear that, I don't know why, but it makes me think he's always got a pen. He was part of a group called the Ravens of Dee who believed that John Dee, advisor to Queen Elizabeth I, had predicted an apocalypse known as the Black Prophecy. But he and the rest of the Ravens of Dee disagreed on the interpretation of this prophecy, so the prepper parted ways from the organisation. He gifts us with what will be this game's central mechanic, the Prepper Pad, the real-world item that acts as a survival kit throughout the game. We control the Prepper Pad using the Wii U Gamepad in a variety of different ways. Sorry, I had no idea how dirty my Gamepad was. Primarily it is used as a map with radar which detects life forms, zombie or otherwise, as well as showing you your next objective. The early stages of the game see you pinging the radar manually. A little annoying at first, but became ingrained in my muscle memory after a short period of time, as the function wasn't too far out of reach from my thumb. It does get upgraded to an automatic one later in the game, but I become so used to the manual controls I was still trying to press the button like an idiot! We can scan our environment for items, doors and enemies and mark them on our map, and we can scan for codes and messages not visible to the naked eye for some light puzzle solving as well. And I mean light puzzle solving. It never really stretches you beyond finding a code hidden around and using it on a nearby door. There was a more interesting take on this with a code written on blood outside this door. So I typed in the code and boo, it's wrong. Well actually now I look at it, it kind of looks like the person wasn't able to finish what they started writing. They were just like dragged away or something. But what number were they trying to write? Maybe a 4? Ah, well that worked. I feel smart. The pad was also good for scanning lootable closets and suitcases to determine if they had useful items before I wasted my time raiding them. And time is of the essence, you'll always be looking over your shoulder when using the Prepper Pad. Whilst you're busy looking at the information on the pad, the game is continuing to run. Oh yeah, real-time menus! You won't get a moment's peace outside the confines of the safe house, and you'll constantly be on edge as you shift your concentration back and forth from the action on the screen to the Prepper Pad to make sure you're not being ambushed. Even organising your loot is done in real time through the Wii U Gamepad, so always have some supplies on hand, because getting out the healing item in the middle of combat, that ain't happening, you'll probably die. Always be prepared. Oh, that's what he meant. Guess I don't need all these pens then. There's also weird quick time eventy minigamey things on the prepper pad. Say if you want to open a manhole cover for a shortcut, or in this example, unbarricade a door. I think they're meant to add another level of panic, as the speed they're completed is entirely down to how fast you can tap the screen, but they're so dumb. An unnecessary mechanic added just for the sake of using touchscreen, methinks. I also find it kind of immersion breaking when using the prepper pad, as the message will appear on the TV screen reminding you to look at the gamepad, and it will stay there until you return to the main action. Like, no shit, where else am I gonna look? I know it seems like a small thing to nitpick on, but the game is fairly immersive with the use of the real world item in a first person view, and it is patronising, unnecessary, and right in the middle of the screen looking like it was made in paint. The only real drawback I have with a game that uses the WiiU gamepad so much is that it drains its battery so quickly. I was lasting maybe 3 hours on one charge before having to plug it back in. This generally was a problem with the WiiU though. At most, with a less intensive game and when it was brand new, I would maybe get 6 hours at the gamepad at best. But nah, not here. You better get used to having a charge cable hanging out the gamepad for a lot of your time with this game. Right, so first mission tasked us with finding the previous inhabitant of the safe house who has been zombified, so we can retrieve his equipment. We find him, pick up the nearby cricket bat, kill him, grab Liz, go to the Winchester, have a nice cold pint and wait for all of this to blow over. Another core mechanic we've been introduced to here is survivor permadeath. When you die, you respawn as a new character with only the cricket bat and the pistol with 6 bullets on your person. You can then hunt down your previous zombified self to kill them and retrieve their loot, but proceed with caution, as only your most recent death will appear as a zombie, so die on your way to collect your belongings and all the stuff will be gone for good, leaving you back at square one. I would tactically return to the safe house fairly regularly to drop off good and excess loot. All survivors have access to this drop box here, so keeping it stocked up is essential to preparing every iteration of the protagonist. The whole game is built not around if you die, but when you die. Getting back to where you were being relatively quick with lots of shortcuts being unlocked along the way. Unless you're mental and get through without dying. There's even a specific mode called Survivor Mode which erases your save data after dying once. One straight perfect run. It's a no from me. You're given a survivor score, which I guess is based on the time you stay alive and the amount of infected killed, with leaderboards tracking it. As previously mentioned, you can track your last survivor down after they died to get their loot, but periodically zombified survivors from other people's games will appear along with their survivor score. If I came across someone with a high survivor score, I held out hope for good loot. I got lucky and found someone with a fuck ton of ammo really early in the game, which set me up really well for future success. I don't know how reliable this is anymore, it being an 8-year-old game on a dead console and all, as I did come across the same survivor twice, both times in the same location and holding the same loot. I mean, I'm not complaining, I got a bitch ton of arrows from my hunting crossbow. Oh, I love this system. It's a layer of tension unlike any I've experienced. Not even just for the potential loss of precious valuable loot, but also trying to keep my survivor alive as long as possible. Although Permadeath introduces a bizarre situation in regards to story, you are driving the story forward but you're not fully integrated into it as the silent protagonist. Your character is always disposable and replaceable, so it's hard to become attached on a personal level. Until they give you a character with the same first name as your eldest son. Oh crap. Gotta keep Zachary alive, Oh, that was a close one. No! And then I had to go back and bash Zachary's head in with a cricket bat. This just sounds so wrong. I do get it though. I'm immersed into this world. I might be called Max or Kayla, but that is me experiencing it through their eyes as the everyday normal human stuck in a desperate, horrid situation. You feel their fear, you hear their fear. They shout and almost become hysterical when forced to kill. You'll mostly be killing zombies with the cricket bat. It's the only constant in your arsenal. Ammo and other items are scarce. Zombies take a good few whacks with this blunt object before you're able to deal the finishing blow, and it's recommended wherever possible to conserve your precious resources. The game is meant to be played slower though, luring out zombies one at a time to pick them off gradually. Melee combat does lack variety though, as you only have the cricket bat to do this job. There's plenty of guns as well as grenades, flares and Molotov cocktails, but use them all gung-ho and you'll have nothing left. And as the game goes on, enemies get harder and appear in greater quantities. But I did find a flare Molotov cocktail combination to be lethal. The flare acts as a lure as the zombies all gather around and BAM! Fuck 'em up! I like how a zombie degrades as you bash it in with a cricket bat, the inside of its head become invisible. I think in general the zombies look great compared to the survival models, which just look god awful. I was genuinely impressed with the Wii U when it came out. Coming straight off the back of the Wii, seeing a Nintendo console being able to pull off something like this was refreshing, but still falls short of its competitors at the time, obviously. But I think the roughness of the zombies works for a less powerful system. The imperfections enhance the decaying aesthetic. But certain details do look bad, like vehicles and the previously mentioned survivor models. And zombie models are reused an awful lot, and you'll start to recognise familiar faces. I swear, I killed this bitch dozens of times. The setting is unnerving. A dark and stormy London void of life. There's a lot of dark history behind the city that you really feel. I don't think this was the only reason to pick London though. This did come out the same year as the London 2012 Olympics, so all eyes were on the capital. Everything looks so dirty, even the camera is filthy. Looks like I got dirty glasses on or something. Loads of rats everywhere, it's just manky, I love it. It's a little hilarious too, it's almost like a stereotype of London at times. Gonna go to Queen's house and bash in all these beef eaters cause I'm in London. But moving between these areas can be jarring with long and frequent load screens. The most obnoxious being when you try and open a door to be met with the message saying loading, and you just have to wait until the next area loads in. This could potentially be dangerous as the game currently around you continues, so if you get ambushed and trying to make a quick escape, then I could see this leading to some cheap deaths. Our goal is generally just to do what the prepper asks. My initial impression was that of mistrust. He's just a voice, you know, why can't he come and do all this stuff? He's spouting all this stuff about how he knew this was coming, blah blah blah. But I'm just taking his word for it. We do complete jobs for other people during the story and try and find a way out of London too, mostly to the prepper's dismay, like anything that isn't his wish is a betrayal. And there ain't many survivors in this story, but sometimes they're the unsettling creatures. I'm looking at you, Vikram. With the exception of one mission, the whole game is a linear adventure, with you doing all the missions in the order the game tells you to. There is a story here, but it's not the main feature. It's the actual gameplay and setting that held my attention for the most part. The freedom the game lacks is made up by a large amount of strategies you can take to get through the missions. The game length is relatively short, but I guess it kind of feels like a deliberate decision so you can go through and try other ways of doing things. I think there's even people who can get through this with no guns were enabled. It's a game screaming to be perfected, and it's fun and scary enough to keep you engaged. Variety is a little lacking though. All the different locations are unique, but missions are mostly fetch quests for the prepper or other survivors. There are spicier missions sprinkled in though, so I personally never felt the game was repetitive, apart from that one non-linear mission that requires backtracking to most of the previously visited areas, and that did feel a little tedious at times. Zombies do respawn though in unpredictable ways. The zombie type and number will differ when revisiting areas, so you'll always be on your toes. But this is one of those games that, you know, I might sit down to have a wee go on and then just get sucked in and be like, oh fuck, it's been 2 hours. I can put that down to the atmosphere. I can honestly say, personally, this was one of the scariest games I've played. There's a thick, foreboding ambience. You can hear the screams of other survivors, a zombie roar in the distance, or is it just wildlife? It's all up to your imagination. It's mostly a silent affair music-wise, but when it kicks in, it is fucking incredible, really intensifying the dread and panic. I particularly love the song that plays as you're running through the very last endgame sequence that we'll get into later. There's so much unpredictability, like even though the prepper pad will alert you to nearby life forms, it's not always a zombie, it can be rats or birds. A few times I went sneaking into areas expecting an encounter only to find vermin. Likewise, not all zombies will appear on your radar. Some play dead only to jump up right at your feet for an effective jump scare and a good old scramble. And when using the cricket bat, you have to wait until the zombies are in close range to land a hit, so it's all about balancing your distance and timing. One mistimed swing could mean death, which is also where the atmosphere has grown too, with genuine consequences for your mistakes. You are weak, and I mean proper weak, and zombies are strong. only a few hits will kill you. Every encounter matters, and encounters become more difficult with enemy variety increasing throughout the story. These teleporting zombies were terrifying. The prepper pad would stop working, going to static when they were close by, so you knew one was there, but not exactly where they were. And they were really strong too, to boot, but a really rare encounter, only appearing a handful of times. I found the Spitter and the Riot Gear zombies quite annoying though. The Spitter would projectile vomit on you, causing damage and blurring your vision for some cheap hits. And the Riot Gear these guys sport takes extra hits to dispatch. More than one of these at once was stressful, to say the least. By far the strangest enemy type was the exploding zombies. They wear gear that if hit with a melee weapon causes them to explode, instantly killing you. So these guys have to be shot. In close range, a headshot is preferable as they die instantly without damage to their gear. But in a group, a shot to the body will explode them and destroy any surrounding enemies too for some good resource conservation.
Right, so story time, I guess. Not the most in-depth story, but I am going to go into it in a bit more detail now. So here's your spoiler warning, I guess, because I wouldn't want it spoiled for me. Empathy, my biggest weakness.
Your protagonist makes their way to Buckingham Palace and meets a doctor called Dr. Knight. He is part of the Ravens of D and he is trying to find a cure. This is where the prepper disagreed with the Ravens of D, believing there to be no cure and leaving the organisation. The non-linear mission I mentioned earlier was finding letters that D wrote and then giving them to the doc, who manages to create the panacea. Not a cure, but a vaccine, meaning it's too late for our doc, who was already transitioning when we met him. We download the data on the panacea to a USB drive, and with the help from another Raven of D, Sondra, we begin our escape from London, the city being deemed unsavable and that is about to be firebombed and destroyed. Upon leaving Shamwell Station for good, we get our first glimpse of the prepper, him being in the room next to the safe house the whole time. He raids the supplies we left in the safe house and beckons another survivor in, beginning the whole cycle again. Roll credits! Well, it's not over yet. There's one mission left to complete once the credits are over. Escape from London. This sequence was incredible. We followed the helicopter to the Tower of London, all the while dealing with a huge amount of zombies in all different varieties, loads playing dead or hidden away right around corners, and that fantastic music was playing too. I went in all guns blazing, no need to be conservative anymore, I felt like a badass. But I was also in a panic and a scramble, because die here and that is it. No second chances at this sequence, as it determines whether you get the good or the bad ending. And they're black and white too. Good, you survive and escape. Bad, you die. Depending on whether or not you picked up the panacea data, will change the line Sondra will say to you before you start the escape, but the end cinematics will be the same. I managed to get the good ending, thankfully. We got on the helicopter and escaped before the city was destroyed, with the hope that the vaccine could save many lives. I got the bad ending the first time I played this though. It was devastating to finally get to the end and to die right before the helicopter picked me up. This was an adrenaline-fueled standout mission and one of my favourites in the game. Another one of my favourites was in King Boris's arena. We get a distress call from a young girl. The prepper insists it's a trap and to ignore it. Only look after number one and all that. But we're like, fuck you, douche, I'm gonna save the little girl, here I go. Oh, yeah, it was a trap. All your equipment is taken off you and weapons and ammo are left scattered around an arena. You then have to survive waves of zombies using only the equipment you can find if you want to get your stuff back. It's a shame this came right at the end because it really taught me a lot about resource management. I went in with the same strategy I've been using for the rest of the game, initially trying to pick off zombies one by one. But without a melee weapon, I quickly ran out of ammo and was killed. The second time around I was much wiser. I used the environmental hazards to help take out zombies, using the exploding zombies to my advantage by shooting them when the horde collected around a flare, and strategically placing mines to conserve bullets too. The rewards were great too, with a bag upgrade and a cool gun to take, along with all the equipment that was taken off me at the start. Oh man, I could go on describing all my favourite moments, but there are so many that I'd probably just be providing a walkthrough to the game at that point. I never dreaded any objective though, in a sense of frustration, I guess. In the sense of spook, yes. I dreaded going through all these crawl spaces. Why are you making me do this? But if you wanted more content, exclusive to the Wii U version are a couple of multiplayer modes. Both are 2-player. one person taking control of a survivor whilst the other acts as king of zombies using the WiiU Gamepad. Both games are structured kind of similarly for the king of zombies. I forgot the Gamepad had a stylus. You have points to spend on zombies, your points recharging over time. More powerful or special zombies cost more to spawn in, and you get to choose the location where they spawn too. As the survivor kills zombies using equipment they find around the arena, this levels up the king. Upon leveling up, the king can receive a number of upgrades. Maybe it's a new type of enemy to spawn, or increase in how many zombies can be spawned in at once. The first game is just a survival game. The king tries to kill the survivor, and to the survivor it's just stay alive as long as possible. But the capture the flag game I can see people having a lot more fun with. It's more strategic for the king of zombies as well as more competitive overall. The king of zombies can spawn in the Queen's Guard zombies to capture the flags for the undead team, whilst also trying to stop the survivor from capturing the flags with the other infected. First to 5 flags wins. It was honestly a lot of fun. Although the survivor had to play this with the Wii Remote and Nunchuck as I didn't have a Wii U Pro Controller apparently. I'd recommend maybe getting the Pro Controller if you plan on playing this to make the experience a little more pick up and play. But yeah, I'd say it's worth a look, it's pretty fun. And yeah, that's everything on offer here. Wait, what's that? Me as a zombie. Oh crap, I'm on the screen! What am I doing? I've got no idea. Oh, it's a filter, okay, I get it. It's kinda tracking my face. I have to tell it where my eyes and mouth are. Think of all the filters you can get on your phone now. This is so archaic. Wait, you think there's a face there? Oh, someone did die in this house. Okay, I'm a zombie now. This is so weird. I guess at the time this was cool, but technology has come such a long way. This is just so bad now, but so funny. I implore everyone to try this. I don't make a very scary zombie though. The real scary image is the low-res Helispookter with no makeup on.
Oh, that's so cute. It comes with a map. Well, yeah, and some Club Nintendo points I clearly never claimed. Oh, could have got myself some stickers or some shit. I love this. This has got to be one of my favorite horror games now, if not just favorite games, period. Like when I was doing my research for this review and reading like older reviews, and I kind of got the impression that people thought that, yeah, it's decent enough, it's alright. No, it's brilliant. It is utterly brilliant. Proper, real spooky fun with really effective scares. And it all comes together to create this really unique adventure. This was released on other consoles later down the line. Don't know whether it was to make up for the fact that there wasn't many sales on the Wii U, and it made it a lot more accessible too. But I haven't played another version yet, and without the Wii U Gamepad, I can't imagine you're going to have a superior experience on another platform. Do yourself a favour and give this one a shot. If you're even remotely interested in horror, you will not regret it. It really is a one-of-a-kind experience that will relentlessly test your skills. It is not for the faint of heart, a truly terrifying experience.
Hey kids, here have 4 million thank yous for making it to the end of this video. This was so much fun to make, mostly because the game was just so much fun to play. I think I might stay spooky for a few more videos. I'm really loving this, so you know, just do what you enjoy and all that. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, links in the description, and I'll see you next time guys. Goodbye.